And I said, I'd just like to assure the listeners that I'm not middle class because I grew up in Harehills in Leeds at the time. And I don't know if you've heard of Harehills before.
Not until you mentioned it, yeah.
Then bizarrely, literally 3 or 4 days later, Harehills suddenly was on everybody's lips because there were massive riots around the police. Something happened to do with a Romanian family, I believe.
A Romanian family, I think they've got 5 kids. Parents went out, left the kids alone, and a 7-month-old baby fell out of a window and fractured its skull.
Oh, really? Is that the story?
Yep, social services came round with the police and social services took into care the 5 children. Police were there for backup.
Now that is bizarre about the kid falling and fracturing the skull, because I remember in Harehills, and the street I was born in was called Brookfield Avenue, and you can look it up, folks, Brookfield Avenue. And and at that point, it was a cobble street, so this must have been 67 or something like that, and we were looking after everybody in the street. It was a proper community. It was a proper community. Bonfire night, we had a bonfire, and it was like proper. People made toffee apples. It was a really nice environment. But we were looking after a baby, me and my sister, and we were sitting on one of the. It's all brick around there. There's no greenery. We were sitting on a wall, and then I was looking to the right. My sister was looking, and the baby fell over and smashed.
Right.
I don't think we fractured his skull, but we just picked it.
It's an old Harehill tradition.
It's a tradition in
babies' heads in.
Babies dropping on the floor, smashing the skulls. We dusted him down, and he seemed okay, and we handed it. We didn't tell anybody, but so hopefully he was okay. Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
So the police came to pick up the kids, and that's when it kicked off, did it?
That was the beginning of it, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the footage I saw, and it was quite interesting because it was the following day. It was a really hot day, and they were interviewing people. And I'm not joking. It could have been could have been Istanbul or Pakistan or somewhere like that, because it was red hot, and everybody they were talking to was brown. And the rioters were looked to me to be mainly Indians, Pakistanis. I think
they would look like that, but the Roma, who come from Romania, not Romanian, Roma.
Yeah.
Roma are gypsies that originated in the Punjab in India.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's why Romanians have dark skin.
Yeah. Although I would say they look like Indians to me, or Pakistanis.
Well, there was Pakistanis there, because the video I saw when they were burning stuff, they were all chanting Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, yeah.
And Romanians are Christian.
Now, the interesting thing about this is, for me, having grown up in Harehills, when I was a kid in Harehills, the community was very similar. I would say that 50 to 60% of the population there were Indian or there were a lot of Caribbean, West Indians there. My dad is Indian, or was Indian, but he was from the West Indies, West Indian. So a lot of the kids I went to school were Indians, Pakistanis. My class photographs from then, I would say 50% of the class is dark brown, whatever. So I don't think the community has changed that much. But when I was there, they were peaceful. They were passive. It was a community environment, like I say, even though there were multiple different racial families on our street, it was a really harmonious and nice place. It was tough, because obviously people didn't have money. So yeah, you could get mugged and all that sort of stuff, and there was violence, of course there was. But there were never any scenes like that when I was young, and I lived there till I was about 11 in Harehills. We moved when I was about 11.
Yeah. But don't forget, we had all the riots in 1980.
Yes, that was after I'd left at that point. So what's interesting here is, and I know we've talked about, Calvin Robinson says send all the Pakistani Muslims home. I think that's what he said. I can't remember now. So, was it send all the Pakistani Muslims or all the Pakistanis home? I can't remember. So I wouldn't say that population there has changed dramatically from when I was a young boy there. But their approach to society certainly has changed, because that behaviour there, which seemed unwarranted to me, unnecessary, I don't think that would have happened in the 60s or 70s when I was in Harehills in Leeds.
It might not have happened in the 60s and 70s, but it happened in the 80s.
Yes.
Those incidents can happen in any city. It just takes the right thing to happen. Riots are also connected to weather. The warmer the weather, the more likely it is to be a riot.
Yeah.
Antisocial behaviour is connected to weather and crime. When I used to work with the police, there was always a joke that it was going to be an easy night tonight, PC rain's out. And the first time I went, well, who's PC Rain? He must be like a tough nut or something. No, the rain, we call him PC Rain because it's raining. So
and everybody calms down when it's,
most of the scrotes stay in because it's raining. So you get less antisocial behaviour. So when it's hot weather, you get more people out and more tempers afraid as well. It took everyone by surprise. And yeah, and
is it a manifest? I suppose my question is, because probably some of our viewers and some people who maybe share some of our thoughts about other things may be thinking, oh, this is a manifestation, this is a result of letting all the Muslim immigration into the country or whatever, and this is what happens as a result of this. You get these communities and they're they're anti-society, anti-police, anti-UK. Is this what happens? But then what I'm saying is the community was like that when I lived there 50 years ago. So is it that, or is it something else that's happening here?
It's a bit of everything. So the British, the English, before mass immigration, we don't do riots. Hardly ever been riots in the UK. The riots in my lifetime have always been ethnic minority riots. Apart from Salford, when we had the Manchester riots, Salfords were mainly white kids, and that was all to do with criminality. They were robbing shops and stuff. I think part of this is mass immigration, tribalism, being sectioned off into different tribes, but also there's also a feeling now across the UK that if anything happens to you as a Roma, as a Muslim, as a Jew, as this, it's because of that. So I heard a dad talking, and I heard some other people talking, and they were basically saying it's because we're Roma. We're being picked on because we're Roma. And the Roma have been picked on all throughout Europe. They're persecuted in Romania, and they're persecuted many places, mainly because of criminals. And that's a lot of their culture. It is criminality.
Any Romans listening, please don't.
Beggings, thefts. Same with the Irish travelling community in the UK. Their culture is around criminality. That's why Irish travellers are the number one locked up people in the UK.
Are they?
Compared to percentage of the population.
Really?
It's not young black men being locked up most. It's white travellers being locked up the most because they're involved in criminality more.
Percentage-wise, you mean?
Percentage-wise of them in the population. Yeah. So that's why this kicked off. Basically, it's not because they confiscated the kids. It's because they took the kids because they were Roma. And the rest of the community went, we believe that because we're picked on because we're Muslims. We're picked on because we're this. We're picked on because of that. And it's that sectarianism splitting up, and even the politicians there are sectarian politicians. There's a Green councillor for that area who got elected under the...
And he was on the street, to be fair to him, he was a little Muslim bloke, I think.
Yeah.
And he was trying to stop it, not very effectively.
No, but he was. And he was actively trying to stop it. He wasn't just saying, oh, please put that down. He was grabbing stuff off people. So well done him for that. But then when you hear him talk afterwards, he's basically saying, well, this is because we're treated as an institutional racism and da-da-da-da. So he comes out with all the same bollocks.
Yeah.
But he was actually trying to take pallets off people and tell them stop burning down your own community. And that's what happens in these ghettos, is people feel victimised. And they partly are victimised, but they bring a lot of that upon themselves through their culture of feeling victimised. They don't think they should live by UK standards or UK rules. It's okay to leave 5 children in a house by themselves all day. We did that in Romania. It was never a problem. A couple of kids fell off balconies, but kids bounced. They're okay. They never died. One was crippled, but didn't die. But in this country, you fracture a kid's skull and social services are involved. Can you imagine what would happen if social services didn't get involved and next day that kid's dead?
Yeah.
The same community would then be shouting, oh, you don't care if Roma children die. You didn't do your job. The next day, social services gave back all 5 kids.
Oh, really?
The next day.
Because of the pressure.
Yep.
I suppose two questions spring to mind on that one. One is what do you think the general public watching that article are thinking when they see that happening? And the second thing is, what's the answer to curing or fixing that?
The general public are looking at that going, here we go. I was amazed that didn't spread to other cities, because normally when there's a riot, it spreads to other cities. Other people use it as an excuse to riot and loot, and that didn't happen. There was demonstrations and problems for a couple of nights there afterwards, but there was never riots again as far as I know. So I think people are looking at going, welcome to 21st century UK, where we have pockets of parts of the world who riot, who don't want to live by our rules, who are not like us, who do not treat the community, the police, even their own children the way we treat our children. They're different to us. They're not English, they're not the same as us, they're different to us. And they want to be different from us because they actively act different. So that's what some people are looking at. What's the answer? There is no short-term answers. To address this, and we're going to have to address it at some point, this is generational. We need generational projects for this. The first thing will be deportations. We say to people, again, especially the Roma community. Roma community add nothing to the benefit of the UK. Certain countries of community add nothing when they come here. Certain communities do.
I mean, we're back to the Calvin Robinson argument, aren't we? You know, send all Pakistani Muslims home.
Yeah.
It's the same. You're arguing it's the same for the Romas.
Yeah.
If they're not born here and they're not adding any value and they're actually adding detrimentally to the community, they should be sent home. Yeah,
absolutely. So that'd be a start, and then we've got a huge problem of integration and assimilation, and we've never done this in the 70 years we've had this experiment with immigration from around the world. At no point have we ever been serious about integration and assimilation, and it has to start at some point. And how do we do it? How do we start it? For this podcast, I've got no idea. I'd have to give it months and years thinking about this, but it would have to revolve around the nation state. It has to come from, we all live on this island and we all need to be one people. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your religion, your skin colour. We all live on this island, and this is what this island is for, and this is what we believe in, and people need to come together and start embracing that. How we get to that, absolutely no idea.
And I think I agree with you, and it's depressing to hear you don't think there's an easy solution. What I would say is, when I lived in Harehills, I think that nation-state concept existed. I think the people there were proud to be British, proud to be in England, living in England. My dad was from the West Indies, and obviously it's a British colony as well. But a lot of the Pakistani kids I knew as well, the true Indians, if you like, they were happy to be part of the UK. They're happy to be English, wanting to learn about English things and be part of that community. And I don't think I ever saw anybody. I went to Harehills Primary School. I don't think I saw anybody kneeling on a mat doing a prayer at any point in the time I was there. And we had proper assemblies. We said the Lord's Prayer. You know, we all went to Sunday school. You know, we were assimilated. I'm saying we were. I was born that. I've always thought of myself as English and British, but you know, the community was integrated then. I think that's the difference, because I don't think the number of brown people in Harehills has particularly changed from when I was a kid.
I would imagine it has across the country. So I would imagine it has. I think, just thinking about it now as you were speaking, because I wasn't listening to you, I was thinking.
Yeah, thanks.
It may have been better then, because many of those people came out of the British Empire, and there still was a British Empire.
Yes.
So people who came from the Caribbean, it was still British territory.
Yeah.
People who came out of India and Pakistan,
It was still remnants.
It'd only been independent
true,
for 10
actually.
years.
Yeah, true.
So these people were part of the British Empire, felt British.
Probably had a British education.
Yeah, and knew they belonged to the British Empire,
yeah.
where several generations later, independence, and we're coming here now because we're coming here not because of the love of the motherland. We're coming here, and they came here not for the love of the motherland. Your family didn't come here because he came here as an economic migrant. He wanted a better life. My dad came from Southern Ireland here as an economic migrant. He didn't come because he loved England, but because they still remember the empire and it was still family.
My dad did love England very much.
No, I'm sure he did, but he didn't come here because he loved England.
Part of the reason he came over was for that. Yeah, he wasn't necessarily. He didn't actually come over originally for work. He came over to study, but he loved England and everything about England.
No.
And I think a lot of people from
and that's the point I'm trying to make is they still felt part of the British family because we're part of the empire. Several generations later, after independence and stuff like that, it's then like, well, I've got no connection.
No, I think you're making a really good point. The Pakistani Muslims that come over and the Indians that come over, they don't see themselves as part of empire anymore or part of the British. They're now,
and so they shouldn't.
No, they're totally disassociated with that. But they haven't. That's maybe what bound us together in Harehills in the 60s and 70s. That we felt, my parents, the first generation, I was second generation, the first generation, did feel part of the empire, didn't they?
You go to houses in the Caribbean, especially of older people, portrait of the Queen.
Yeah. Thank God they haven't got the king up there.
Yeah, but that's how much they felt connected to the British Empire and the monarchy, because the monarchy is obviously the monarch of many of these countries.
So how do you bring that feeling back, Nick? What's your plan? Now you've discovered the reason. We're not on pause, by the way.
I'm thinking.
Nick's thinking.
That worked then, it won't work now. Because even British people now
I'm proud of Britain.
And not proud of Britain and don't have that same connection to the monarchy and stuff like that. It would have to be a long, hard slog of creating a nation that wants to be a nation, and believing in ourselves, celebrating our history. If you don't know your history, how do you know where you're going to? You have to know where you've come from. So we need to celebrate our history. We need to have a lot more. Every bank holiday we have in this country should be renamed. It should be St. George's Day. It should be Churchill's birthday bank holiday instead of spring bank holiday and this bank. No. Rename them to important things in our history. And we need to start having more celebrations at school. Every public office in the country should have a picture of the monarch and the flag outside. And that's a start. By itself it'll do nothing, but that's a start. If we do keep the BBC, then the BBC, its agenda needs to change. Its agenda should be the British Broadcasting Company. It should be about promoting projects and doing work and having stories and documentaries that promote the national interest.
Yeah.
And it should be concentrating on that. Using some populist shows as well. Not just a documentary channel, but that should be its aim all the time.
It used to be like that.
It used to be like that. But
remember when the Generation Game used to be on and things like that? That was a time when I think we embraced Britishness, didn't we?
We did. And they were...
and White Show, Generation Game.
And to be fair, they've still got those sort of shows now with Strictly Come Dancing and stuff like that. They're still family shows. But they need to do a lot more about promoting Britishness and being a nation and being proud of the nation. And
I think the thing that makes that happen is somebody coming into power like Trump will do in America, where that's what he's all about. He's all about America, make America great again. He's all about the nation state, isn't he? But we don't have any politicians at the moment who are promoting that.
Yeah. I'll give you two examples of the BBC. You've heard of the comedian Dara O'Brien.
Yes, I can't stand him.
Him? He's Irish.
He's too woke.
He's from Southern Ireland.
Yes.
What is a foreigner doing over here, working for the BBC, presenting programmes? The other one who was in Father Ted now does a talk show. I forgot his name now.
Dermot
No, not him. He had a small part in Father Ted. He's gay. He's quite flamboyant.
Graham Norton.
Graham Norton. Again, from Southern Ireland. What's he doing working for the BBC over here as a foreigner?
Yeah, that's true actually.
So they're the changes the BBC need to make.
Yeah.
Because we're promoting people who are not even British or English. They may say, I've got a British passport now. Yeah, you may have a British passport,
Yeah.
but you're not British, you're Irish.
Yeah.
You're always talking about you're Irish. So those little changes can mean a lot. We need to start promoting the country and ourselves first. And I use those two examples because they're white people. I didn't want to use an example where someone's black or brown because it's like that's easy to dismiss. I'm talking about my relatives because my dad was from Southern Ireland.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's why I want to use them as an example. Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.